Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year 2025. Isn't that hard to believe? Or, at least it is for me. To me, it kind of feels like a futuristic number. But I'll tell you one thing. 2025, for you Nintendo fans out there, it sounds like it's going to be an incredible year, and it's already started off with a bang. Of course, we're expecting a Switch 2 reveal within the next 3 months, hopefully sooner rather than later. Come on, Nintendo. Let's make it happen. I want my pre-order now. But in the meantime, somebody just leaked out its motherboard. And this is actually really interesting stuff because it includes a lot of information, including spec-related details. Yeah, that's right. We now have a realistic idea of just how powerful this thing could potentially be. And to put it short, it sounds like it's going to be more than capable. I'll get into that in a little bit, but that's the big thing here because by all indication, this leak seems to be the real deal. I mean, it's either real or somebody is an absolutely just fantastic hoaxer to say the least. But here you go. I'll go and post its image up on screen. Check the Switch 2 motherboard out in all of its glory. And yes, it's very much glorious after Nintendo dragged their feet all year long in 2024. I think fans have waited long enough, Nintendo. Again, let's make it happen. Now, the first thing that really stands out here, though, is just its sheer size. I believe it's sitting on top of a Switch OLED tablet, and it's still quite a bit larger, which really leans into what's been widely rumored. The Switch 2 will be quite a bit larger with an 8-inch display, which, that would actually make it tied for the second largest display for any mainline handheld, only behind the Lenovo Legion Go, which has an 8.8-inch screen. Now, just for comparison's sake, the original Switch is 6.2 inches, and the Switch OLED is 7 inches. So anybody who still uses that original Switch, this is going to be a significant increase in terms of size. Now, I do understand that some people want a smaller Switch just in general because they believe that is what makes a handheld in the first place, but it's important to keep in mind here that Switch will probably have several different SKUs as the generation goes along. This generation, as example, there was the Switch Lite, the Switch OLED, so I wouldn't be all that surprised if Nintendo does a very similar thing next generation with the Switch 2. Now, personally, though, I'm really excited about the larger screen here at launch because it really does make a difference for more graphically demanding games. And I fully 100% expect Nintendo to get a wider range of AAA games for next generation, including the already confirmed Call of Duty. Now, I'm not saying that it'll necessarily get every single game that releases on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. Those are still more powerful machines. But I do think AAA games will be much more common for the Switch 2 than what we saw for the original Switch this generation, especially now that we know some of its specs, assuming that this leak ends up being true. Again, it sounds like it's true, but for me personally, I think this is the most exciting part about this leak. There's been a lot of speculation about just how powerful the Switch 2 will be. And once again, it seems like the previous leaks were fairly accurate. This is exactly why we talk about leaks on the channel when they come from reputable sources. I see you guys in the comments sometimes say, well, why do you talk about leaks all the time? But here is the exact reason. A lot of these leaks that we do talk about on the channel do end up being true. And in this case, everything seems to be lining up. Just as previous rumors stated, the Switch 2 appears to have 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM, and it'll have a customized NVIDIA Tegra T239 system on a chip. Nintendo's probably trying to keep its price in that $400 to $500 range. Overall, though, the Switch 2 appears to be a capable machine that falls anywhere between the base PlayStation 4 or even the PlayStation 4 Pro in terms of its power level, which is more than enough for a handheld console. Think about it this way. The base PS4 still has some of the best looking games ever made, which includes Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War Ragnarok, Uncharted 4, Ghost of Tsushima, you have the Spider-Man games, and even games that released here in just the last few years like Horizon Forbidden West. The big difference from this generation compared to last really is more in terms of performance and load times than it is about their raw visuals. In terms of just raw graphics, we are kind of at that point of diminishing returns. So take those PS4-esque visuals and then apply them to a handheld console. To me, that is very impressive. And this isn't even factoring in the big advantage that Nintendo has. This leak further confirms that the Switch 2 is in fact using NVIDIA-based hardware, which means theoretically, they also have access to NVIDIA DLSS, which is easily the best AI upscaling technology. The days of simply just looking at specs alone to determine how powerful a machine is kind of a thing of the past. AI upscaling technology does play a vital role and could give games an added boost in terms of their performance and to their visual clarity. In fact, it was also just discovered that Nintendo filed a patent for an AI upscaler, which further proves their investment for this type of technology. This patent is quite interesting though, because it makes it sound like they're maybe working on their own AI upscaling method, similar to what PlayStation did with PSSR on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they won't use DLSS as well, but if they also have their own version, this will kind of future-proof their consoles as they can continuously improve this type of technology for not only this console, but for future consoles as well. That's one of the things that I've mentioned about the PSSR. In some ways, the PS5 Pro is a beta test for the PlayStation 6 because PSSR is only going to get better from this point forward. So I'm actually really happy with a lot of the information that's currently coming out, and especially because, this is for a Nintendo-based console. See, the thing is that the Switch 2 might not necessarily be as powerful as a PlayStation 5, nor does it need to be. If you think about it this way, we haven't really seen a big graphical jump from Nintendo, I'd say really since the GameCube days. So the way I kind of look at this information is that, games like Zelda, games like Xenoblade, Metroid, all of those type of games with PS4-esque visuals and AI upscaling, that sounds pretty amazing to me on paper. I mean, I don't know about you, but the idea that we're going to see a true generational leap from Nintendo sounds incredible for their type of games, which, for the most part, their games have never really been known for their graphics. Nintendo is much more known as a gameplay-first type of company. That's suited them very well, and then instead of going for just raw graphics, they push more for attractive art styles. But now they kind of have an opportunity to combine their first-class gameplay with modern-day graphics in a way that we haven't seen from Nintendo in quite some time. So if anything else, much like the Xbox Series S, is not necessarily going to be the most powerful console on the market, but it could potentially hold its own in a lot of situations. However, there is one high-profile journalist that just absolutely does not believe in this PS4 Pro-esque power angle. This is from Tom Warren, and he said this over on Twitter. There are so many rumors floating around about the Switch 2, but the funniest one is about it being as powerful as a PlayStation 4 Pro. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because Digital Foundry's John Linneman, which, he knows his stuff very well, he responded, "That is funny because it's likely to be quite superior in many ways due to using modern NVIDIA architecture with access to features the PS4 Pro does not. As a portable device, though, it'll be limited in other different areas." So I think what we should kind of take away from this back and forth between the two is that it's not necessarily an apples to oranges comparison. But if anything else, it sounds like the Switch 2 will be, again, a very capable machine based on the information that we currently have. It might not match the PS4 Pro in every instance, but thanks to having newer technology, there will be situations where it's either comparable or actually even better. So again, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty good to me. There you go, though. What a way to start the year. The biggest Switch 2 leak yet. And by this point, you really just have to kind of wonder when Nintendo will do their own official reveal. Maybe sooner rather than later, or else they kind of risk pretty much everything leaking out early. And, we all know how these companies like to control the narrative. At the same time, though, we're still missing some very important information, which includes its release date, its price, and its launch lineup. As soon as we hear more, though, of course, I got y'all's back. So make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Until next time, though, Happy New Year, and peace out.